Hello beautiful friends. Here we are entering the second half of November, and I thought this would be a really great time for me to come on and share a walkthrough of my completed 2021 December daily album. As you can see, as per usual for me, she is a chunky one. Nice and full here, even though I wasn't doing actual daily documenting. I still had, I think, 26 different stories to tell, so she is quite chunky. Now if you have been following my channel for a little while, you may have seen that I did start sharing some processes from this when I was working on it earlier in the year, but as always happens, I got a little bit overwhelmed and wanted to just switch my focus on to purely getting this completed. So I am sorry that you didn't get to see all the process videos, but I will try and go through some detail as we walk through this album. Now again, if you did watch any of those previous videos, you may have seen me talking about my dilemma when it came to an album. I couldn't find any albums that I was really happy with, none of the Christmas albums that I was really happy with last year. So I went with this 49 and Market album, which is not a Christmas album. I liked it because it was 6 rings. I liked it because it had a nice wide spine. But what I didn't realize until I had received it was that the 6 rings in this album don't actually match up with any other 6-ring binders that are currently on the market. And while the spine itself is wide, the rings inside are not really big enough to hold the amount of content that you can add into the album. So that'll become clear as we start flipping through. If you did watch those previous videos, you might also notice that this looks quite different to what it did when I first showed it. And I had talked about experimenting to try and jazz up the front of it a little bit and make it a bit more Christmassy. Suffice to say that experiment failed. So I ended up having to get a brand new album, and I've just left this one blank as is. I'm just leaving it. So what helped me to make that decision is that I did for the first time go and make myself a really fun little dangly charm, which you can hear. It's very jingly, very jangly, very Christmas. There are some homemade polymer clay charms on here, a little paper one, and this little piece here was a Shrinky Dink inkjet printer that I bought from a Daiso store, and I went and printed out dates or years for all of the years that I have done these December daily albums, and then pop them all in my oven because I actually plan on going back and making some of these really fun dangle charms for all of my previously completed albums, because why not? Alright, let's hop in. Now I am warning you, this one is going to be a very long, very chatty video, so grab yourself a beverage. I have my cup of tea here, but I will also upload a very brief just flip through video if that is more your thing. Let's dive in. Okay, for the inside cover, I really love to add some decorating and some embellishing to my inside cover. I almost always do the same thing. In fact, I think I have always done the same thing, and I do some heat embossing on the cover. For this one, I grabbed a stencil, which is just a random polka dot stencil, which is from, I'm pretty sure I got it from Kmart many years ago. And I actually made my own little embossing powder mix here, just mixing a few different colors and finishes together. And I know it's not going to show up on screen properly, but it really is a pretty pink, iridescent-y, shimmery finish, which I really love. The other thing I have done in all of my albums is I have added an R, which is our initial, our family initial, and then some embellishing. Okay, so for my opening page, I love transparent elements for my opening page. When I've had a look back through a lot of my albums, I've realized that I do this quite a lot, have these transparent pieces. I think it's a really nice way to open the album, and for this one I went into my stash and I grabbed this really old, it's like a white doily print acetate that I've had, I think it was an American Crafts one. I've had it for a really long time, and I am going for a softer, more pastel look in this album, so I thought that that would be perfect. I've just used my silhouette to cut out the word December, typewriter to type the words 2021, stitch those down, and then this is an ephemera piece from one of the collections that I used. Now, in terms of collections, I mainly stuck to 3 that compose this album. I used Rosie's Studio Twinkle All the Way collection, which is from 2021, and I used the 2 Christmas collections that Uniquely Creative brought out in 2021. And then I went through and I just curated from those the pieces that fit the aesthetic that I was going for in this album. This is just a piece here. Well, it started off just as a piece to back this so that you could see it nicely, but I did make a bit of a boo-boo, so it ended up being something that holds this full page photo here behind it. This is like my reason why page, I guess. I don't know where I got this idea from. It just popped into my head one day. I had purchased a digital file from Ali Edwards, which was from one of her insert pieces, and it was these wonky circles. And I had this idea of having it fold out to reveal all of my reason why journaling, and then putting some fun shaker pieces in here. It's really pretty. It's actually a really thick, chunky page, but I love the way that it came out. This here, I'm pretty sure I actually had this printed out in my December daily stash for quite a while and never used it. I think this may have been a digital from Kerry Bradford's studio, if you're keen, and I'm pretty sure I also changed the color on it as well. It wasn't this pink color when I purchased it, but I'm happy to look that up. If you need any info on that, just leave me a comment down below. This is day 1, really simple. I had started out with the intention of keeping things quite simple and quite clean through this album. Sometimes I stayed true to that, sometimes I did not. But this one certainly was nice and clean and simple, and it's just the little story of some decorations that I had up in my study, my scrappy space. Sorry, I say day 1. I started numbering these. Story number 1. I started out numbering them, and then at some point through the album I just stopped, and I'm okay with that. This isn't day 1, this is story 1. This here is the story, and you can see I'm still numbering, and you'll see those going through, but they do stop eventually. This is the story of our December boxes. It's something that I do, or I have been doing for the last few years, is on or about the 1st of December. We open up a box which has got some Christmas goodies in it. This is definitely the first time that it's been as extensive as this is, and this year will probably be the same. So my journaling is in this little pocket here. This is a little embossed pocket that I made, and I do have a tutorial for how I made these on my channel, and I've just got my journaling popped on a little homemade tag in there. This is the story of the arrival of our elf Minty. This was the first year that we had an elf come to visit us from the North Pole. Her name was Minty. She got a little bit lost along the way, and she ended up stopping up where Daddy works. My husband works up in the northwest of Western Australia, and she arrived with him in his bag when he flew home from his 2 weeks away at work. So the kids were super excited to have an elf, because all of their friends had been talking about having elves, so they were really so excited that finally we get to have an elf in our own house. And these were the letters that Minty brought with her, just introducing herself, and then the little letter that she wrote letting us know that she didn't arrive on the 1st of December because she got a bit lost and ended up with Dad. It's the story of our Lego advent calendars. I think this is the first year that we all got one. In previous years I've got them for my husband, who is a really big Star Wars fan and also a really big Lego fan. So he's had the Star Wars advent calendars, Lego advent calendars, but this year we all got one. And yeah, again, it's this page here, I sort of decided to approach things where I had these full 6x8 pages to fill as little mini layouts, little mini scrapbook pages. So I've kind of approached it the same way that I would a layout. I've got my photo, I've got my embellishment clusters and my journaling, and I think that's really nice. And thinking about how I'm going to do, or how I'm going to approach December Daily for 2022, something like this is really calling to me at the moment, supplemented with some pocket pages. So again, it's not super complicated. None of these pages really took me a super long time, and just keeping it simple with some journaling and titles and some embellishing. This page here is just documenting while we were putting up our Christmas decorations. I have my previous December Daily albums packed away in a box with all of our Christmas things, and then when we bring them out, I bring the albums out and I put them somewhere close to the tree in the hope that it's an invitation for somebody to go looking through them. And happily this year, when we were putting everything up, putting all the tree and the decorations up, the kids really got stuck into grabbing out those older albums and having a look through them, and that just made me so happy because it's not something that they have really shown much of an interest in before now. I just want to take a moment to apologize for the light. I know it is shifting and it is changing quite a lot. It's a really odd day here in Perth. It's overcast and then it's sunny and then it's pouring with rain. So I do have my window open because it's giving me a really nice light that stops the glare, but it is meaning that there's some changes. So I apologize for that. I needed a filler for this page here because I knew what was going on to the back of it. So I just printed off, this was a 3x8 piece from Inner Creative Bubble. It's a digital from Inner Creative Bubble. And then I printed it on my laser printer and ran it through my Mink machine. And I just matted it on some patterned paper. I also really like adding some trim into my album down the sides of the pages. I think that it adds a little bit of fun and a little bit of texture, and I love going a little bit crazy with these albums with things like that. So here we have the story of our tree. My tree doesn't change from year to year. It might get a couple of extra, I wanted to say embellishments, decorations. It might get a couple of extra decorations added each year, but essentially it stays the same. I'm not someone who changes their decor seasonally, mainly because I don't have the money to be doing it, and I also don't have the storage space to be having different sets of decorations. So this is our tree. It looks similar from year to year, but I do still take a photo of it and include it in the album because I think it's worthwhile. And then just a couple of pictures that I took of my husband and I as we were decorating and getting the tree up, wearing our little Christmas headbands. And then this is the story of putting up the tree, and I'm sure that many a mum or a parent can relate, particularly those of us who are memory keepers. We try really hard to make this an event, I guess, something that our family can enjoy. For me, it's summertime, it's getting into summer, so it's always really hot, but I bundle us all up into the home theatre. I put something wintry onto the TV. A couple of years we've had like a fireplace playing. This year I think it was Diagon Alley in Winter from Harry Potter. And I turn the air conditioner all the way down. We have some snacks, and I do try and make it a bit of an event, but inevitably I'm the only one with a sustained interest in doing this, and the kids sort of come and go, and my husband reluctantly participates, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to stop trying. I'm going to keep trying to make this a special family event, even if nobody else appreciates it as much as I do. This is a bar humbug story. I still think it's important to tell the not so fun stories, and in this case it's sort of tied in with a Christmas theme. My daughter had some health problems at the start of December last year, and we had to go and get some blood tests done. We went to the local children's hospital to get the blood tests done, and they had all of their Christmas decorations up for all of the kiddies, and we got a visit from one of the elves. And my daughter, she was reluctantly very brave and had her blood test done, and thankfully everything turned out okay. So yeah, I think it's important to tell those stories, and like I said, in this case there was a little bit of a Christmas element to it as well. Now this is a story that I have told year after year after year, and I wondered whether or not I needed to keep it, but it is a tradition. I call it Fruit and Booze Day. It's the day that I get all of my dried fruit mixes together and add the alcohol and let them steep to make my pudding, my Christmas cake, and my fruit mince pies. So even though it is the same story that I have told many years in a row, I do think it's worth keeping them in here, because, you know, who knows when things might change. Because I have told the story before, I kept it really simple this year. I've just got the photos of the bowls of fruit, which I came and took here, where it was nice and light and an overhead shot, cut them out into circles, and then I made this piece here myself on my Silhouette, in my Silhouette Studio software, and then cut these pieces out from glitter cardstock and backed it. So I'm pretty sure I actually do still have the Silhouette file that I used to make this. So if it's something that you are interested in me sharing, please let me know down in the comments below, and I will see if I can share that with you. But yeah, there's no real documentation. It's just pretty simple, and I'm okay with it. I think that's great. So this was really all about talking about Christmas traditions. So this is the photo of the fruit and booze, and then these are the things that, again, I've documented these stories in previous albums, so I didn't really need to say a lot about them here, but I am just acknowledging the fact that these are traditions that we enjoy at this time of year. We get our giant bag of biscuits from my mum. We use our little Santa and Mrs. Claus mugs for a coffee in the morning. I make fruit mince pies for my fruit mince pie loving husband, and we use these wall buddies, which I have had since I was in my early 20s, and they are very, very old now, but we love them, and we love seeing them up on the wall at Christmas time. So again, just trying to keep things really simple. I've got some photos, a little bit of embellishing, and then just some really basic journaling in those pockets. At Christmas time, I love to make edible gifts, particularly for my family, my brother and my parents. We don't really do gifts between us now, but it's just something that I've gotten into the habit of doing, and I really enjoy it, and I know that they enjoy eating those treats. This year I also made some gifts for some of our little school family or school friends, the local families that we're friends with from school, and I've done these Christmas cookies in a jar before, but I did them en masse this year. I think I made 10 or 12 of them, and they are such a great gift to give away. I made these little tags to go with them using Tracy Reed's, I think it's Candy Coated Christmas collection, with the instructions, and they were such a hit. Everyone that we gave them to really, really loved them, and we even made some of the cookies ourselves, and they were delicious. Yeah, I used a chipboard frame here. This is from Rosie's Studio. It's not from the Christmas collection, but I love, love, love their chipboard frames, and whenever they have them out in a collection, I usually make sure to get some. So I pulled a couple out that matched my aesthetic, and I've used it here. This is our visit to Santa. Of course, we do this every year. Again, it is the same story that I'm telling year after year after year. This year was slightly different though, and I have got, did I include the story? I don't think I did include the story. Oh my goodness. No. So this year the backdrop was a little bit different for Santa. I really thought I had included that story, but there we go. Our backdrop was a little bit different. So we had this nice big Christmas tree where previously it had been the traditional deep reds and greens and things like that. I have this photo with a little story. My son, he definitely marches to the beat of his own drum when it comes to clothing and accessories. He turned up to our Santa photos in a self-chosen outfit with a crocodile hat on and his glasses. And when I asked him why he had chosen that outfit, he wanted to scare Santa because he'd seen a photo of himself as a baby where he was scared of Santa. So I definitely included that story in the album because I think it is just super cute. And to back that photo, I had nothing really that I wanted to go here. So this is just a big die cut piece using my silhouette. Again, I had nothing to go on the back here, so this is just a filler. I actually made this myself, and it does tie in with this page because right after having the Santa photos, or meeting Santa and having the photo, I took the kids to a waffle store and we got waffles. We got waffles with ice cream and syrup. And my kids don't usually eat a lot of sugar. I mean, they love it, but they don't usually eat a lot of sugar. And I don't understand why I thought that throwing sugar at them right after the high of meeting Santa was going to be a good idea. Because it was hectic, but they loved it. They absolutely loved it. So this little piece from Elf I thought went really well with the sugar high of these waffles that we enjoyed. They enjoyed. I didn't get much. This spread here just talks about making Christmas cards, or the kids making Christmas cards for their friends. So I've done this every year with Violet since she was, I think, 3. We've sat down and we've made a big batch of cards for her to give to her friends at Christmas time, her school friends, with a little treat. But this year Jack was in his own little early learning program, and we wanted to make some for him as well. So I made 2 different ideas for Christmas cards. One that was really suitable for Violet, which was these little reindeer lollipop holders and the the Christmas Chopper Chops. And then for Jack, we just made these little reindeer faces onto white card and then stapled a little chocolate to the back of it. My kids love crafting, absolutely love crafting. So this was a really fun way for us to spend the day. And yeah, I loved documenting it. Again, you can see that I've kind of approached this 6x8 as something like a layout, or the similar way that I would approach a layout, and I think that's a really effective way of having these pages in my album. Of course, as I haven't mentioned before, I've got loads of these little shakers because I love shaker pockets. The other thing I haven't talked about is one of the things I really did love about this 49 and Market album is that they had different size page protectors than I'm used to working with. So they had these ones here that had the 2-inch strip across the middle and then the divided pages. And I think maybe somewhere back here we've seen another one which has got the 2-inch, that's got the 4-inch piece up the top and then 2 2-inch strips at the top. So I loved just sort of branching out and trying different sizes in my albums, different size page protectors in my album. This one here didn't need much of a story. My son's birthday is in December, so he gets a little page dedicated to him. Like I said, we know what it's about. He turned 4. I don't need to journal. I don't need to document too much because everything about his birthday will be documented somewhere else. But here we've got a photo because that is an event that we celebrate in December. So this is just an insert, a filler insert. I got this idea from Dearly D. I'm pretty sure that this cut file is from Paige Evans. And Diane had done this in a previous year of her December daily where she had cut the cut file out, adhered some vellum to it, and then colored the vellum in using some alcohol ink markers. And it gives a really pretty stained glass look, and I absolutely loved it, and I knew that I wanted to try it for myself, and I think it's a really sweet little insert filler page there. This little story, this was a brand new product that was available to us here in Australia last year. It was a gingerbread flavored milk. We tried it at the start of December, absolutely fell in love with it, and I couldn't tell you how many of these little cartons of gingerbread milk we went through. We just thought it tasted like Christmas. It really did. So we used the gingerbread milk, with our coffee machine in the morning to have a hot coffee, and then we use the gingerbread milk in the afternoon with our cold brew to have an iced coffee. Now I wanted to have the full page of this, and I had this idea came to me because the carton's got the little lip on the front, is that I would hide the journaling inside the carton. So I played around with that and managed, it took a lot of fiddling around, but I managed to make it work. So I've just cut a slot in the inside the photo, and then duplicated the top part of the photo so that I still had the little top piece from the carton, and then printed out my journaling and slotted it in. I think it's really fun, it's quite different, and yeah, I thought it was a really good idea. This page here is just documenting some of Minty's adventures. Now, our elf was not a naughty elf. Our elf didn't get into mischief. Our elf just liked to move around a little bit at night time. So these are just some of the photos that we took. Again, I've approached this as more of, well, the way that I would approach a layout, so it's a grid style, and then I wanted to include some of the letters because Minty did leave us a couple of letters throughout December, so I wanted to include those, and to do that I made myself a little vellum envelope. So I used my envelope punch board and yeah, pop that together, and then just added some embellishments. There's no actual closure piece on it, so there's nothing to hold it down, but when I scored the side of the envelope, and then the heaviness or the weight of these embellishments means that it sits closed anyway, it doesn't kind of flap open, so that worked quite well. And then just some and a little cluster of embellishments on the back there, just so that that's not a blank page that you're looking at. And here we go, this is another one of those different sized page protectors. So it's got 2 3x4 pieces in the middle, and then 3 2x2s at the top, and also down the bottom. And this was talking about, I don't really go for the cheesy Hallmark rom-com Christmas movies. That's not really my thing. But for some reason last year, I went all in. I watched all 3 Princess Switch movies. I watched all 3 A Christmas Prince movies, and then I watched a few new ones, and honestly, they were so cheesy. They were really so cheesy, but I loved it. It was fun. I watched them while I was doing some documenting. I watched them while I was doing some baking. They were fun. I enjoyed them. And now we're getting towards, well, no, we're not getting towards, we are at Christmas Eve. So you can see all of this here. This is documenting the stories that happened in the beginning of December, and then all of the rest of this here is Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So it's quite chunky. We start our celebration for Christmas on Christmas Eve. My husband has, his father was from the Netherlands, and so for them Christmas was traditionally celebrated on Christmas Eve, and it's something that he's brought with him to our family. So we exchange gifts with each other on Christmas Eve, and then we have a nice meal together. This page here is just documenting the gifts that we exchanged. I love getting so many photos of the kids included on this grid, because I just love to see their reactions as they're opening their gifts. They are so excited, they are so happy, and I love being able to look at that sequence of photos and just see their excitement when they see what's inside. I also added some journaling here which just talked about the gifts that we received. I don't think I've done that in previous years, but I probably will do it going forward, because I think it's something nice to remember what kind of gifts you received. And certainly now for me, I look back on the photos that my mum took from Christmas when I was a kid, and I'm really interested to see the gifts that I received at Christmas time and what I was into at that particular point in my life. This is documenting the story of our festive feast, our Christmas Eve, a little family feast. So again, I went with a grid here, another sort of a layout approach. I tried to include, I got to this point in my album and realized things were getting really bulky, so I still wanted to include some texture and some visual interest, but I was trying to keep it a little bit flatter. So I've just got a couple of layers behind my photos here of a cut file, some tulle which has some gold foiled star details on it, and some tissue paper, and that really helps to add texture and interest without adding too much bulk to the page. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about that one. Okay, and here we are, we're still on Christmas Eve, but this is a story of the kids getting ready for Santa. They're laying out their Santa sacks, they're leaving the treats for Santa. At our house he gets biscuits or a fruit mince pie and a small glass of whiskey. And I don't know if I have mentioned yet, but all of these little alpha tiles that I've used throughout my album, they were a new purchase for me this year. They were from the stamp market. They came out with a coordinating stamp and die set which creates these tiled alphas, and I love the tiled alphas, so when I saw that I could get a stamp and die set which would allow me to use them over and over and over again and in whatever colors that I wanted according to my inks, it was a no-brainer for me. So there's these small ones here, and then these are the larger ones as well, so you will have seen those quite a bit throughout the album, but that's where they are from. Now, to secure this piece in, I've just used some acetate, a larger piece of acetate, and then again on the back I needed to fill in some here. So this is a stamp, it's a wood mount stamp that I have had for years, and it's like a really nice graphic, not quite typeset, extract from The Night Before Christmas story. So I thought I would bring it out and stamp it and then stitch around it, and then it's just a nice little filler piece here. This is one of the pages, or one of the things that I had prepped when I did some foundation work for this album. I made this little file in silhouette, just with a heart, star and a tree icon. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it, but I wanted to use it, so it's just serving as a little filler piece here to show the delineation between Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So this here is the excitement. My kids, they woke up in the morning and this is something that I remember from my own childhood, just that feeling of sheer magic when you wake up in the morning and the Santa sacks that you've laid down flat the night before, you walk in and there they are bulging, and you know that Santa has been, and they're just so excited, and it's such a lovely thing to witness, is the excitement of kids on Christmas morning. This title here I made with a die set that I have. It's an alpha die. I'm pretty sure it's from Tim Holtz, and it comes with one die and it cuts the two different pieces. So it's cool. It's a little bit different. I did make a bit of a boo-boo where I oriented this end the wrong way around, but I don't think it's super noticeable unless you point it out, which I have just done. This is also Christmas morning, and I just wanted to document the difficulty of getting a nice photo. You know, documenters, parents, we just want that one nice photo of our kids. For whatever reason, Violet just wasn't into it, but I did manage to get that one nice photo of the kids sitting there in their Christmas PJs. And then we were off to my parents' house for the traditional Christmas Day gathering that we do. We do a hot roast. It's been scaled back a little bit. I've now convinced them that when it's 40 degrees, we don't need to do all roast meats. We can have some cold meats as well, but yeah, we still have the roast pork. The kids got to open some gifts from my mum and dad. This here, I had this idea that I knew that this page was going to be not the full 6 inches, and to show that this was Christmas Day, I made this up in my Silhouette software. I just wrote out the title Christmas Day, offset it, and then did flipped it so that I can have it the same on both sides, and then stitched it down the side there to attach it to the page. So another fun little way to add a page turner. This is just the story of Christmas Day. It was pretty low-key because my brothers were with their in-laws' families for Christmas Day, so it was just quite small, quite happy. The family photo, which I asked my dad to take for us. I do like to get a photo of all of us together on Christmas Day. It's nice to see that year after year after year. This is another fun little bit of trim here. I think this may be, can't remember where I got this from, but it's just, yeah, very red and fluffy. And then a full page photo. This was the final event on our Christmas calendar. This happened after Christmas Day because my family were with their in-laws' families for Christmas Day. We then got together on Boxing Day and had our own little Christmas get together. And it's mainly just for the kids to exchange their gifts. And then getting to the end of the album to finish it off, I had jotted down at the end of December, I had jotted down a few things that happened throughout the month that I wanted to remember. Some good, some not so good. We had the first of many really quite unpleasant heat waves happen over Christmas last year. So I found this little picture which was from the Bureau of Meteorology, and it wasn't this color, but I just played around with it in Photoshop and added an overlay so that it was the pink matched my album a little bit more. And then to finish it off, I have the photo of our tree with the gifts underneath, and this is just, I'm pretty sure this is from Kerry Bradford Studio. Printed it onto some vellum and then attached it to that there so that it's a nice see-through piece. And you can see now what I mean about the rings of this album not being big enough to hold all of the pages, because it is really straining there as I'm turning the pages. But that's it. Got some embellishing on the back, the same that I did on the front. That is my album, and that is one very, very long, very chatty walkthrough. If there's anything that you've seen here that you want more information of, whether it's products or techniques, anything like that, please go ahead and leave me a comment in the description box below. But I will leave it there for now. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.